When he turned his back from shoulder to shoulder, it looked like as wide as the tailgate of a truck.
And just darkness, literal darkness, just came like all over, just all over me except where I was standing.
This thing let out the most blood-curdling, mind-blowing, spine-tingling scream that you've ever heard in your life, and it cut through me like a knife.
And I knew that they were going to take me. I just knew it. And then the next thing I can remember is being levitated.
Well, when I look in there, I see two big eyes staring back at me.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Bump Podcast, a place for the believers of the unexplained, monsters, and paranormal. Join us, and we'll go face to face with what goes bump in the night. Hey there, believers. I got another fun episode for you today. I know I say that every time, I know. But today we're bringing on Jessie Lee. She is a social media personality, content creator, cryptid hunter, woods witch, all of the above. She has a brand called Hellbent, Holler. And I found her on Instagram. I get into the stuff she's doing. Her and her husband, Joe, I should say. They go out and they actually go to these different locations and try to find signs or evidence of these cryptid animals, cryptid creatures, whatever you want to call them. Loads of content on her Instagram. It's Hellbent Jessie with an I, all one word. It was like a lot of fun. I reached out to her, see if she wanted to come on the show and talk about her experiences. I know she just got back from Bigfoot conference, and not too long ago, she went out to the land between the lakes looking for Dogman or any sign thereof. So I'll go ahead and bring Jessie on the show.
All righty. How are you doing?
Doing good, Jessie. How you doing?
I am great. I am Jessie. I'm from Hellbent Holler. I have a YouTube channel where I pretty much present my videos. Can we start over?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Hey, why don't you introduce me and then I will go into my...
All right. Well, I've already done a pre-introduction, and this is what I said to him.
Okay.
This is what I said. I said that I'm going to bring on Jessie, who is a content creator / cryptid hunter.
Yep.
That, I found through Instagram. I really liked your account and all the stuff that you're doing. I kind of just summed that up and said, we'll just jump right into it. And then it brought us to where we're at. It's been paused since.
Oh, perfect. All right. Let's do this again.
All right. Just whenever you're ready.
All right. Okay. Hey, I'm Jessie with Hellbent Holler. I have a YouTube channel where I am a cryptid hunter, a paranormal investigator, a avid hiker, survivalist, video editor. I carry a lot of equipment. I drive long distances. I do a little bit of everything. And I got into the whole cryptid thing years ago. I started out kind of in paranormal, more like a ghost, supernatural sort of thing, and it kind of evolved towards cryptids and things like that, Sasquatch, Dogman, things like that, and it kind of evolved in that direction when I started finding kind of connections between the paranormal and cryptozoology, and so it kind of melded together all of my interests at once. And my whole approach is to I enjoy reading about the subject and discussing the subject and everything like that. But my main approach is to get my gear, get my camera equipment, get my hiking gear, and then hike deeply into remote areas and observe and report. I like a nice boots on the ground approach to the subject. And I think the best way to learn about these things or what's going on is to just go out there and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see all your content on Instagram. Sadly, I have to admit, I don't get on YouTube very often unless I'm posting a trailer or something like that for my show.
Yeah.
But I will be checking it out. Is it Hellbent Holler on YouTube also?
Yep. It is Hellbent Holler. Yep. I think I have about 20 videos up. I just put another video up a couple of weeks ago that was about our big trip to Land Between the Lakes.
Yes. I took a trip to Land Between the Lakes. It's kind of like a mancation with me and my dad and my uncle. We kept our ear out for Dogman, We didn't go actively pursuing anything. It was more like just a getaway.
You were pursuing fishing at that point.
Yes, I was. I was in a kayak more than I was in the woods, but we did hear some wild boars and stuff that was sounding pretty crazy at night.
Oh yeah. Land Between the Lakes is a really wild place. I had never been there before. We're down in the upstate of South Carolina. So I had never been, I'd been to Kentucky one time. I went to Cryptid Con a few years ago and we loved Kentucky, but we had been looking into the Dogman phenomenon and the beast of LBL, and just when that whole, I don't know if you heard about this thing with the Cryptid Studies Institute. They did an interview with a guy who claimed to be a survivor of the massacre at the Land Between the Lakes. So we decided, all right, we've read about this. I've watched all these videos. I've heard all these accounts and all this stuff. And it's hard to kind of piece together what these places look like. Like you can look at maps and you can watch videos and you can read all these accounts and stuff, but you're not going to really be able to know what the terrain looks like and what the area looks like and get a real sense of the reality of the situation unless you're there. So we decided it's summer. We're going to have a Dogman summer. Normally we focus mostly on Sasquatch type stuff, but we do a lot of other supernatural, paranormal, because I think that all of that stuff kind of crosses streams a little bit. I don't subscribe to the ape theory, really. I think that there is something higher than that, something more supernatural than that as part of the phenomenon. So I'm very open-minded to everything when it comes to the origins of this, the connections to the supernatural or the paranormal or interdimensional. I mean, I'm open to any kind of ideas because nobody really knows. So we were looking into Dogman and got on a kick on Dogman, and we're looking into the Land Between the Lakes phenomenon and the massacre that apparently occurred in the early 80s. So we planned the trip. We decided, let's just go up there. Let's just go do it. Went up there and, started filming. We just film everything we do and we figured out, we looked at maps and listened to all these different accounts and read all these different accounts and used all these different sources, and we studied maps and everything. And we figured out where we think the massacre took place. I mean, it matches everything. Then we went to the area and checked out all the stuff that was in that particular area and filmed the whole thing. In the process of doing that, I got a insane thermal image. Did you see my thermal image?
I did not see your thermal image.
Oh, okay. So that last video I put out, towards the end of it, I present my thermal image that I got. I got two amazing thermal images. I just got a Pulsar Axion XQ38 thermal camera, and that is that's a Cadillac compared. I was working with a FLIR Scout TK for so long that I got this Pulsar, and I mean the images in it are insanely clear. People use it to hunt coyotes and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
But the images are like shocking. It's towards the end of my video. You can check it out, but it looks like a giant canine head that it came up out of the ditch, and there's like a ravine there, like a ditch ravine kind of thing in the woods not far from us, and it just came up out of there, and we got two images of it.
Oh wow.
And oh yeah, and we reviewed the images and reviewed the footage, and we're just like, what? No way. Because it's, you don't, I mean, we went there to just check it out, see what it looks like, see what Land Between the Lakes is like, you know, see the bunkers and see the area and check all that stuff out. And you're like, okay, well, we might hear something, we might get kind of what we usually get, you know, sounds and stuff like that. And we were looking at that image and we're like, oh my God, is that a Dogman? I mean, is that a Dogman? Did we really? I mean, we saw it and it happened. And that's, I mean, you never expect these things to happen like that, you know? But I mean, and you can interpret that photo any way you want. I know what I see. But it's really a shocking thermal image.
Well, I'll definitely have to check that out. I was on the fence about Dogman forever. I
thought the whole Dogman thing for so long. I was like, these people, what is this? Because like everybody gets a little crazy about the Dogman thing, and I was like, these people, what is this? What is this? And then, God, the more stories I hear, and the more things I find. I mean, there's a research area we go to in North Georgia where we were finding canine prints in the woods that were this big, you know? And I'm like, what? So somebody has a freakishly large dog out here in the middle of the woods, nowhere near a trail, nowhere near any of this stuff, just out here. The largest dog in the world is apparently out here in the woods.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, that's so weird. And then more of these things, it just snowballs, you know, it's sands in the hourglass, and it just one little grain of sand at a time until you're like, this thing's real. This thing is real, you know?
What got me to start at least entertaining it, and I don't know how else to describe what, you know, is what you're talking about, a giant track. A good friend of mine, his wife took the photo in Kanawha County, West Virginia. It's like our capital city, you know, of this dog track that's the size of her hand. You know, it's like literally the size of her hand, like 6-inch, 7-inch track. What do you do with that? You know, it's clearly a dog track. You know, I've hunted for 25 years. I know what a dog track looks like.
Yeah, and you know, bear tracks are huge, yes, but they're distinctly different from a canine track.
Yes.
And I know, and forever I was just like, nah, but this is crazy. This is crazy. And now it's like, it's real. It's real. It's all real, you know?
Yeah. What do you think it is?
The Dogman?
Yeah, the Dogman. We'll get into what you think about Bigfoot and stuff in a minute too. But
I'll talk about anything. I'm telling you, I'm a little out there on some stuff.
I am too.
I've seen too much stuff in all of my years. I used to live in New Orleans. I lived in New Orleans for 10 years, and I saw some stuff, you know. I mean, I have an open mind to so many things, and so I kind of laughed off the Dogman thing for a long time, and now there's just so many things that are presenting themselves that I'm like, this thing is real. This thing is absolutely real.
Yeah.
So what do I think it is? I don't know. You know, there's a lot of, I don't think it's a werewolf in the traditional sense, like the European legend of a werewolf, a man that, you know, transitions to a wolf under the full moon. I don't think it's that. I honestly, I think it's a demonic entity.
Me too. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I mean, all of these witness accounts where they talk about that there's like a mind speak, you know, in Sasquatch, there's people report mind speak and stuff like that. Yeah. They report it with Dogman all the time, that the dog, that it says, I could kill you right now. I could destroy you right now if I wanted to. And it seems like it threatens people constantly. And it seems just evil, you know, it seems like it comes from a evil place. It seems demonic.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think if they're seeing this Dogman creature, it's some kind of demonic entity that feeds off of your fear.
Yeah.
You know, all that low vibrational energy that you give off when you're scared at your lowest point. That's what they That's what they thrive off of, you know?
Yeah, it maybe it makes it stronger. It makes it, you know, and with like tulpas, you know, when more people believe in them and fear them and feed into that energy, they come into existence, you know. Maybe it's some sort of similar situation.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. But I live in a spiritual world, you know what I mean? I see everything in that aspect, so that works for me.
Yeah, I mean, and I know that, I mean, there's such a dividing line with a lot of people who do cryptid work or research or anything like that. There's a lot of people who, you know, if you even suggest a supernatural element, they lose their minds. They absolutely lose their minds. And I'm like, okay, so you're looking for an 8 or 9 foot tall ape, say it's an ape, running through the woods, and you see an orb. Oh, there's no orb. I'm sorry. That's too crazy for me. I'm looking for this 9 foot tall ape. Okay. Right. I don't want to talk about these lights floating through the woods, you know?
Yep. You're nailing it. Everything, everything that I question, you're nailing it. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
You know, like what's the drawing line, you know, what's the line in the sand for these people? If you believe in a 9 foot monkey that's running through the woods of West Virginia, do you not believe that there could be something else out there?
Exactly. And then you say, okay, all right. So you say, all right, it's just an ape. It's an ape, an undiscovered ape running through the woods. Okay. Well, what about the reports of the glowing eyes? Oh, well, you know, some animals have self-illuminated eyes. Okay. No mammal. I mean, do any mammals have self-illuminated eyes? Okay.
Nothing to know of,
right.
no, I don't think so.
Do any other animals, you know, mind speak or whatever? You know, people report having like mind speak, like Ron Moorhead calls it quantum entanglement, which I love that phrase.
Yeah.
I mean, no other animals do these things. And they're like, oh, well, you know, they can do that. Okay. Why can't we get them on trail cams and stuff like that if it's just a monkey? Well, they can see the IR. No mammals can see IR. Right. So, I mean, all right. So it's basically an ape, but it's a special ape, but there's nothing weird or supernatural about this ape, you know?
The best explanation I've heard for it being seemingly supernatural, but not, it came from a guy named Trey. He has a social media presence.
Squatch Me Now?
Squatch Me Now.
Yeah.
I had him on a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And he described it as, you know, he believes it's a natural being, you know, as a creature that hasn't had to depend on the crutch of technology.
Yeah.
That, you know, if man were to never have advanced technologically, that maybe our senses and our abilities would have heightened as well.
We would have evolved in a different way.
Right. To where, you know, our third eye would be open still. We could communicate telepathically. We might be able to, you know, have a way of cloaking or whatever by, you know, shaking, you know, vibrating our body, you know, get our hairs to stand up and shimmy or whatever. You know,
and be more adept to the environment, you know. These things, if they evolved in this environment, this is their environment. We rely on technology. Yeah, we evolved in that environment.
Right.
So you go into your strengths, you know. So I mean, I like that theory. I mean, I'm open to that theory.
That's the most believable that I can go with. It's not woo. You know, I lean more towards the woo camp. The more interviews I do, the more people I talk to, the more books I read. I know less and less. You know, I can't understand. It goes above my head. So
yeah. And that's the thing is I think it's really important to listen to these accounts, listen to these stories and everything like that. And if somebody says something that doesn't fit your narrative, I'm sorry, you still have to take that into consideration.
Yep.
You know, you can't just focus on the narrative that you want to build or the narrative you want to accept. You have to take all of the information that is given to you and assess that.
Right.
And if that includes floating lights or mind speak or, you know, all of these supernatural type elements, if that includes that, I'm sorry. I mean, you're doing a disservice to the subject if you just ignore these things.
And that's what science is, right? You take all the information and you keep your bias out of it.
Yeah,
And you let let it fall where it falls. So,
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah. Now you just said a second ago that you lived in New Orleans for 10 years.
Yes.
Okay. Now anything you tell me from here on, I'm going to believe it, because I lived in Shreveport for 6 years. And
I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah. Woo. And I visited New Orleans.
Uh-huh.
One night was plenty.
Okay.
I went to like Marie Laveau's House of Voodoo.
Mm-hmm.
I believed I was in a real house of voodoo. I don't think it was any kind of commercial gimmick,
Uh-huh.
You can,
my friend Rose works there, so shout out to my friend Rose. She works
Yeah.
at Marie Laveau's House of Voodoo on St. Peter.
yes,
She's my bruja.
that place, you can feel it. Like the whole time I was down there, you could feel that
Energy.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
energy.
I bartended on Lower Decatur Street. I did graveyards 5 days a week, so 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. 5 days a week.
Okay.
On Lower Decatur in the French Quarter.
Yep.
And it's a whole different world. It doesn't even feel like it's a part of the United States in its own way. It's a world apart. Just in attitude of everyone and the feeling of the entire city and the history and everything. It's a lot. I have like a weird theory about New Orleans, that, you hear stories about the vampires and stuff like that. The only vampires I ever met were, people who were goths that hung out in bars. That's the only kind of vampire that had fake teeth in,
Right.
But I think that sort of legend and that sort of concept comes from, I think the city itself is a vampire in a way. I've known so many people down there that they show up and it just slowly takes the life out of them. Yeah. I think that it drains like a life force out of people until it finally just grinds them down. Especially, vulnerable people like in the French Quarter and stuff like that, people that are part of the service industry and everything like that, they show up, they're vulnerable people, and it just slowly grinds them down. And I think that the city itself kind of takes energy from people and it just keeps, it just like banks it in a way. But you can really feel like the energy of the city as soon as you cross over like Pontchartrain and you get through New Orleans East and you get into the city. It's like alive. The city itself, the ground is alive.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. It really does. That the whole city, the whole area is a vampiric area. While you were talking, I was thinking, man, that sounds so much like West Virginia. It's like people come here and we get by, but if you're not from here, you don't really understand. It's like there's a lot of hopelessness that has kind of bled into it. And maybe it's these hills, that are a billion years old or just.
Yeah. And it's almost like the memory is ingrained in the area, and the memory, it's not just a memory, it's a living thing. Yeah. And is it something created? Is it something older? Was it always there, or has it just been fed by the people there, or has it always been there? Is it something much, much older than the people there, and the people just feed into it?
Right. Well, on that note, this area, I'm in southern West Virginia. I'm in Logan County.
Okay.
So I'm about 30 minutes away from Kentucky.
Okay.
Which is my second favorite state.
I love Kentucky. Every time I go, oh God, I love Kentucky. It's so beautiful and it's so creepy, and I love Kentucky.
Yeah. But this area, Eastern Kentucky and Southern West Virginia and Northwestern Virginia, this used to be called the Dark and Bloody Ground, by the Native Americans. Like there wasn't a whole lot of settlements here. This was a lot of hunting grounds, but as far as settlements, there were certain tribes like the Shawnee that would stay here, but this was almost seen as cursed land even back then, you know. So I think that what you say about New Orleans, I think that there are areas like that throughout the world, you know, much less the United States, that have this effect on people. That
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: the paranormal got you into cryptids. I can see that connection. What got you into the paranormal? Was it something you were just born into, or?
I'm from Western North Carolina. I'm from Haywood County.
Okay.
I had a great aunt that was my aunt tells me stories about her. She was like a local, I'd say a local healer that in Appalachia call them granny witches.
Yeah.
But there was all these stories they would tell us about how somebody would be in an accident, you know, with a piece of farm equipment or something, and they'd break their leg or something would happen, and they'd go up, and she was, you know, they didn't have hospitals, they didn't have doctors, anything like that. They go up to her and tell her, you know, we need you to come down. And she'd say, oh, I'll meet you down there. And they'd be like, well, okay, well, we're going to go. I'll meet you down there. They go down there and she's already there. You know, just weird stories like that.
Right.
My mother will, you know, it's always this weird Appalachian witchery that is something that we all do. And, you know, it's always just been something that everybody kind of does in my family, little things. Like my mom can take a pregnant woman and take a needle and thread and she's been 100% accurate every time.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. And so that kind of thing has always been interesting and like a part of my life, and always like, oh, well, that's that. And, you know, and it's always just been something normal in that way. And so when I was younger, I've always been kind of open to that. My mother's always been open to kind of like open to seeing things and sensing things, and so was I. So I've had a lot of paranormal experiences. I've seen people standing in doorways that I just got back from their funeral, and I see them standing in a doorway, and then I close my eyes and open them again and they're gone. You know, I've had a lot of instances like that, and I think it's just being open to it and then experiencing it and then pursuing it. And I've been pursuing the supernatural and just the other for so long that it's become part of me and it's become part of my life. I use talking boards. I use spirit boards regularly. I've done that since I was about 10 or 11 years old. I've used spirit boards regularly. And I use that probably about weekly, you know, and it's something that I do all the time. And I do ritual magic. I do it. I perform rituals and things like that. When I go into the woods, I always take weapons. I always take, you know, tomahawks and guns and knives and everything. Everything I carry, I've blessed, because what I do is dangerous. And if I honestly believe that these things are out there, which I do, I'm going to take, you know, weapons, but I'm going to take physical weapons, but I'm also going to take spiritual weapons. Yeah. So I have always participated in that, and I've had a lot of strange experiences just my entire life, and it seems like it happens, and I'm like, okay, all right, and then I just roll with it, you know.
Yeah.
It's always been part of my life.
Yeah, I love that. I'm very interested in a lot of the things you were just saying. One, I don't have any association with this guy, but I'm about to plug a book. Okay. I keep it over here beside my sage. Being from Appalachia, I think you'd appreciate this. I'm gonna try to get it to where you can see it in the camera. But are you familiar with a guy named Jake Richards?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, he wrote a book. He's written a couple of books, but one is called Backwoods Witchcraft.
Okay.
Conjure and folk magic from Appalachia.
That is in my Amazon cart right now. So yes, okay.
Because
all right, I will order that today.
I don't know if you can see the tabs, but I've got like almost every page tabbed on this. I love everything about this book, and it reminds me so much of just here at home, you know.
Yeah.
Like what you're talking about with your mom and stuff, and what your family just does things. It's all in here. It's all real Appalachian history.
And it's things that you know, and a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, it's witchcraft, it's evil, it's things like, but you know, everybody I know that is in my family that does these things, it's just part of our lives.
Yeah,
It's not evil, it's not anything like that. I mean, it's as simple as planting by the signs and things like that,
Yes.
which they feature that in the Foxfire books and things like that.
I got the
And
first 6 of those on
just
my
something
bookshelf.
that's yeah, it's I mean, it's just ingrained in Appalachian culture, that there is such a high level of spirituality among the people of the mountains, because it's a hard life. I mean, it was a hard life for so long that, you know, and people brought these customs from the old world into the new world, and it developed, and you were, you know, living a hard life, and spirituality was so important, and it's still important. And it's just a part of life. It's a part of everyday life. And that's, you know, whether it be reading signs or superstition or speaking to the dead or customs and that, you know, you perform rituals and rites in cemeteries. I mean, I know people that do that in my family. It's just a part of everyday life, and having connection with the other side and the other, which, you know, could mean anything, you know, like any kind of other entity. That's something that is accepted as something that happens, something that's true, something that is ingrained in our history and our culture.
Yeah. So obviously for you, it's about as unfair as somebody asking me what got you into the paranormal. It's just life, right? It's just part of who we are, and what it's just our culture, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, get that book. If it's in your Amazon cart, get that book. You won't regret it.
I will.
I've tried like hell to get him on my show, and he's like, yeah, man. And then I don't hear from him again for 2 or 3 months. So we'll see.
Well, I'll buy a book and I'll demand him come on.
Something else you were talking about is, you're obviously into survival, and that kind of ties into what we were talking about with Bigfoot too. You know, if you're out in the woods, if you're out, you know, camping for 2 or 3 days, you can feel your own senses get heightened. You know, like you kind of tune into nature and all that kind of stuff. But you got some of the coolest gear. You had this chest rig that I'm about to order. I think it was like Hill People Gear. Hill People Gear. Yeah. I love that thing.
I have the chest rig. Joe wears a chest rig. That's what we carry our pistols in. Because when we have firearms on us all the time, where it's not completely prohibited. But otherwise we have knives, bear spray. We go completely armed all the time because we believe this stuff is out there, that this stuff is real. And if you go out there and you have nothing to protect yourself, but you say that you believe that these things exist, and you go out there with nothing, I don't think you believe these things exist, because what you know, I mean, you have to protect yourself. So I always have a pistol in there. Joe carries a pistol. We carry multiple knives and stuff like that. But yeah, I am a huge gear nut. But it comes with the territory, because we don't just park our car and hike in a quarter mile and then set up for a few hours and knock trees and whoop and do that. We don't do any of that stuff. We carry a lot of gear. We carry a lot of camera equipment. We carry everything we need to survive in the woods as well. So that's why we have these huge Osprey packs, and we have like battery backups for everything. We bring tons of camera equipment, tons of research equipment. We use EMF readers. We just have multiple recorders. We just have tons of stuff. And then on top of that, we have all of our camping gear too, because we have to go out there and survive being in the woods. And if something's happening and we're like, okay, we got to stay tonight, then we can just stay. You know, we don't have to worry about, oh, well, it's getting late, we need to leave. We've hiked 10 miles out here. Let's stay. Things are going on. So we've got everything we need. We carry everything on our backs and bring it in. We've got everything we need to film and record and collect data. And I mean, I think that's I don't want to say that that's the best way of doing things, because what a lot of people do in terms of research, that's very important. And if you're physically unable to go out into the woods and do this, then that's great. Do what you can do.
Right.
But I mean, I suggest to anybody, get a little bit of equipment, get a backpack, and just go hike into the woods. And of course, have a personal locator beacon, because I don't want you to get missing 411.
Yeah.
But you know, go into the woods and just start doing it. Start filming, start recording. Because I think that that's the only way that we're going to get more evidence, is if more people are doing this and more people are going into the field and going into the woods, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good advice.
Yeah. I mean, I tell people all the time, I mean, we have, I mean, I have a nice camera. I've been doing this for a while though. But I have a nice camera, and I've got, you know, a really great thermal I just got, and I have all this equipment that you can just start with an off-brand GoPro off of Amazon for $40.
Yeah.
You can start there. You can start with your cell phone and just do it. Just go out there, and there's nothing that we're doing that you can't do, that anybody can't do. It's just a matter of being brave and doing something.
Yeah. I love that. And that's a good, I was going to ask, you know, how would somebody get started in this? If, you know, if somebody was interested in doing it.
Yeah. And if anybody has any questions, I answer all of my direct messages on Instagram. My Instagram is at Hellbent Jessie. But I answer all my direct messages. If you have any questions, I'm so happy to help. I want other people to do this too. It's been very rewarding for me to do this, because I get to go be in the woods, and that's where I am just happiest and at my most zen. But I'm hunting monsters, you know, I'm geared up, I'm going out there, and scary stuff happens, and my adrenaline spikes. I get terrified, I get scared, and I feel like I'm living. It's a great way to live. I mean, it's absolutely a great way to live. And I feel like I'm gathering evidence of something. I don't know what sometimes. Like, I don't know if this is a Sasquatch thing. I don't know if this is a paranormal ghost thing. I don't know if this is a Dogman thing, but things are happening in the woods.
Yeah.
And I'm just going out there, and I'm observing and reporting. Whatever happens, I'm filming. I'm gathering the evidence here. That's all I'm doing.
Well, speaking of things that happen in the woods, or elsewhere, would you mind telling me about what you can just pull it out of the air? If it's too quick of a question, we can circle back to it later.
Okay.
But what is one of the most memorable encounters or experiences that you've had in all this adventure that you've been going on through?
Land Between the Lakes was crazy. It was crazy. It really was. I know I mentioned that before, and I talked about that before. It was really crazy. And I felt like that we had gotten to a point with that, because we had been doing this for years now, and kind of trial and error on how to do this and how to record and how to film all this stuff and still be present in the moment. And still be out there experiencing these things, and, you know, being self-aware, being situationally aware, and all this other stuff. There's a lot of plates spinning when it comes to these things, and you have to do the technical side, but then you also have to do the research side, and you have to be open, and you have to be prepared, and you have to be ready mentally and spiritually for what could occur. So I think that we had gotten to a point when we got to Land Between the Lakes that we are able to be open to more things. But what got me, probably my most memorable thing, was the first time that we went out doing this kind of thing. We didn't film it at all. This is what started the whole thing. Is we were listening to podcasts, and one came up that, you know, this guy saw a witch on top of a waterfall in a national forest near us, and that she had turned into some sort of forest cat.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I was like, that's not far. Let's
with human
go.
eyes, right? She kept like human-like eyes.
Yes. So the area is called Panther Town. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember this episode. Yeah.
You remember this? Okay. I was like, that's not far from us. I was like, let's go. Let's just go. So I found it. This is before we decided, oh, let's do this kind of thing. I was like, let's just do some legend tripping, you know? I was like, let's do some legend tripping. Okay, so we took all the notes and everything, figured out, okay, this is the trail, everything, planned our trip, went out there, found the trail, you know, we were just gonna hike the trail, just normal, go hike the trail, go find the waterfall, and, you know, just check out the area and see the spot. So we went out there. This is in the Panthertown Valley in North Carolina. And it was kind of hard to get there. The directions on the GPS were a little wonky, and so we had a map and everything out. We were like, all right, okay, we got this. So we went down a wrong road, and there is a camp for troubled teens down a road that's nearby. It's like, okay, that's weird. All right. So it's like wilderness therapy kind of thing. All right. So they turned us around. We had to leave. So we got left out of there. And then we finally found where the trail was. We start going down the trail. Everything's kind of normal. It's a hike. It's a normal hike. Everything's cool. There's nobody else out there. It's completely empty. We're hearing weird sounds and stuff. We're kind of we can be chatty Cathy's with each other sometimes, Joe and I. So we're talking and walking and everything like that. And then we start hearing, like, in the distance, kind of a whistle in the woods. And I was like, okay, that's weird. Okay, all right. And then we're just like, all right, so we got a woods witch out here or something. So we're walking. It was a rough trail. And then our GPS just stops working. We went down a side trail. We're like, this is not right. I looked at the map. I had a paper map. I was like, this is not right. We went the wrong way. The GPS is taking us, we had a Garmin GPS, and it's like taking us somewhere else. It starts malfunctioning completely. It basically shuts down. I was like, oh my God, okay, all right, this is weird. My phone starts shutting down. Everything, we just started having electrical interference with everything. Like, that's weird, okay. So we just keep going, you know. So we just keep going, and there's like a creek, and it's a wide, like, rushing creek. It's not a river, but it's a deep creek, and you have to cross over it to get further on the trail. So we cross over it, and there's a few stones in the middle, and then there's like a limb hanging down. So you grab the limb, you go across. We cross the water, and then get to the other side, go see a waterfall, take a picture, you know, and hang out there. And then we're like, all right, well, it's going to start getting dark soon. And it was a new moon, so it was going to be completely pitch black that night. So we start to come back over the creek. Joe goes first, and he crosses, no problem. And then I go to cross the creek, and I step on the stones, and I get to the middle, and I hold on to the branch, and I'm standing in the creek on the stone, and I just black out. I don't remember anything from this. So what I'm going to tell you is what Joe told me happened. So Joe told me that I stood there, I let go of the branch that I was holding to steady myself, and I just stood there. And I put my hands down by my side and just looked straight down. And he goes, Jessie, come on. And he's reaching out to me, and he's like, come on. You got to get across the river. Come on. And I looked up at him, and I said, I don't feel good. And he goes, oh, no. Come on. And I'm completely blacked out at this point. And he's like, you got to get over the river. And I just stood there. And then I looked at him, and I went, no. And then he just grabs me and pulls me. So he gets me to the other side, and I go down. I throw up. I come to. I'm like, what just happened? I'm sick. I threw up. He's like, you just like went out. You were gone. I was like, okay. And I was like, I'm really sick. I don't feel good. I was just so ill. And he's like, we got to get you out of here. Let's get you some water. I had eaten. I had plenty of water. I had my Camelback. I had been drinking water. I was not hydrated. I had eaten earlier. I was fine. I was 100% fine until I got in the middle of that river. And I just got completely, I left. I blacked out. And then he said that I wasn't even there. He's looking at my eyes, and I wasn't even there. So the further I got away from that river, I felt better and better. I was like, okay, all right, I'm okay. It's fine. I'm okay. That was weird. Yeah, that was really weird. Okay, let's go. Let's just get out of here. Let's get out of here. Well, we're walking down the trail and we look down at one part of the trail. And like I said, there's been nobody out here this entire time. I look down, and in the middle of the trail where we had been a couple hours earlier, there was sticks arranged in a pattern that looked like symbols. I don't want to say runes, but they were akin to runes. They weren't runes because I know what runes look like, but it was symbols and sticks laid out in a line across our path. And I took a photo of it with my cell phone that was not working. And I was like, okay, I got a video, I got a photo. I was like, that's weird. That was not here because I'm short. So I have to look down when I hike a lot so I don't trip over rocks. I said, I would have seen that. I would have seen this. It was so prevalent right there in the middle of the trail. So like, okay, so we keep going. And all of a sudden, rocks come from either side of us.
Well, that does
from
that.
the woods.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, this is so weird. And we're just starting to get really freaked out. And then you hear a growl, but it wasn't like a deep guttural growl. It was like a high pitched growl, in the woods. And I was like, this is terrifying. This is absolutely terrifying. We had rocks at the same time come onto the trail in front of us. And we are just trying to get out of there. We were just like, we've got to get out. We've got to get out of here. So we are starting to go. Joe then gets this overwhelming feeling of we are in danger. He was a bartender in New Orleans too for Graveyard. So he knows when there's danger. You know what I'm saying? And he just had this overwhelming terror that came over him. And he unzipped his chest rig and he's like, I don't know if I have to pull my pistol. I don't know if we're in danger. I don't know what this is. I don't know what's going on, but we were both just like terrified. It was just an overwhelming just sense of fear. And we're going down the trail and we're trying to get back to the car. And in the distance in the woods, Joe starts seeing a face in the woods, a white, like a bone white face in the trees. And it might be pareidolia. It might be that. Sure. We're kind of heightened. We're kind of freaked out. Things are kind of weird. All right. So he told me about it and I was like, okay, we're okay. Let's just get out of here. He's like, I'm seeing stuff, but it's okay. Let's just get out of here. So we're getting out of there. We're both just terrified. It was one of the most terrifying, and it almost seems like for no reason. It's like, other than the rocks, well, I don't want to say no reason, but other than the rocks, the weird growl, the weird instance at the creek, but now we're just going down the trail and we're trying to just hustle to get out of there. The sun's setting, it's getting darker. And we get to the end of the trail and we come up to the hill and there's a truck sitting next to our truck. And there's 3 guys there. And it's summer, okay? The 3 guys are wearing long sleeved flannel shirts. And I mean, it's hot. It is hot. Like I'm basically wearing like a sports bra and leggings and it's so hot. They're wearing long sleeve shirts and they're all sitting there and they're leaned up against the truck and they're staring at us when we come up out of the trail. And just, they had these smiles on their faces that were inhuman in a way. And one of them just says to us, "Did you make it to the waterfall?" And we were just like, yeah, we saw the waterfall. It was really nice. Yeah, we just, we want to get out of here before the sun went down. The guy goes, yeah, waterfall's real beautiful, ain't it? And then he just like drinks his beer and just, they're smiling at us this entire time. These wicked, freakish smiles. It was just odd. But one of the weirdest things is the smell. Around where these guys were, it smelled like a rotting corpse. It was that sickly, sweet, just stomach turning smell of what smelled like a rotting corpse. And there's these guys in 100-degree, 95% humidity, wearing long sleeve shirts, just smiling at us. And we were like, time to go. So we jump in our truck and we get out of there. And we didn't say a word to each other the whole drive home. really, until we almost got home. And we were just like, that was terrifying. Yeah, that was terrifying. Okay. So we get home and I decide maybe we should do some research on the area before we go next time. But we did some research and I'm looking through old newspaper articles and stuff online. And there was a story from about 3 years ago that a young man, he was a teenager, he was at that camp that I mentioned earlier for troubled teens. It's like a wilderness therapy camp. He had run away and he ran away and got lost in the woods, and there was a search party. They looked for him for about 3 weeks. He was gone for 3 weeks and they couldn't find him. And then after about 3 weeks, they discovered his body in that creek, the creek that we had crossed and I had blacked out in.
Yeah.
They found his body in that creek, and he had only been dead for a couple of days at that point. He was face down in the creek and his pelvis was completely crushed, and they ruled that he died from drowning, but his pelvis was completely crushed. But he was not under a rock, he was not like under anything, but he had all these strange injuries to his body, and they ruled it was a drowning. But the creek wasn't, the creek wasn't 2-3 feet deep.
Yeah.
But they found his body in that creek where I had that experience, and that just, that shocked me. That shocked me to my core. I was just like, oh my God, and so they ruled it as a drowning. And I was like, that kid died in that creek where I had that, I just blacked out, and if Joe wasn't there, I don't know if I would have made it out of that creek. I don't know if I would have crossed the creek, or if whatever that was going to keep me there.
Right.
So that shook us. That was crazy. So we decided, let's get some cameras and do some more of this. It was scary, but it was, I couldn't stop. I can't stop.
Oh,
these things are real. What is happening is real. And I've experienced a lot of these things and seen these things. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find it, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's paranormal. I don't know if it's supernatural. I don't know if it's a creature. I don't know if it's multiple creatures. I don't know what's happening, but something is happening in the woods.
And if anybody figures it out, it'll probably be you. If that can happen to you and you go back for more,
Yeah, I know. That's the thing, is like, living in New Orleans for so long, things scare me. Yeah. But my threshold for fear is pretty high at this point. As long as you're prepared mentally, physically, and spiritually, I think I can face it. I think we can face it. And if not, I just hope that my SD card survives.
There you go. Let the story live on.
I hope you find my camera and my SD card survives. So
while you were telling me about that first, the one that sealed the deal for you there, so many things. Like, I thought I figured out what was going on with you right off the bat. You got out in the river and you couldn't go any further and you blacked out. I was like, oh, that's because evil spirits have a hard time crossing water and something's attached to her, and then I was like, okay, so that's it. And then you go on, and I was like, well, maybe she got zapped. That infrasound thing happened with Sasquatch when you started talking about seeing these stick structures, these stick signs on the ground. And then rocks started showing up. I was like, oh, that's easy. That's Bigfoot now. So I was wrong the first time. Now it's Bigfoot. And then you started seeing this white face and these flannel men. And I'm like, what the hell's going on?
I know, it's everything. And I'm just like, it was everything. And that was a turning point in my life. That was probably one of the most pivotal days of my life. Because it was, I don't know what happened. It changed everything though. It changed everything.
Yeah, no doubt. That's one of the most exciting stories I've heard in a long time. That is freaky. Okay, where to go from here? Two things. I know we've been on here almost an hour already. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
You said earlier that when you go out and you take all this gear, that you bless your equipment, you bless your weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how you do that? Like, I'm, for my own self-interest, I'd like to know what kind of blessings can you put onto, you know, a weapon? You know, how can I bless this knife to, you know, like,
I have when you do ritual magic, generally, anybody who's been doing it, there's no set formula to anything you do. It's a very personal thing to do.
okay.
When you perform ritual magic, it is all self-created. So everything I do is things that I've kind of put together over the years, and it's a process that I kind of developed personally. So for you to do that, I could give you kind of like a guideline, but that's something you would have to develop on your own, because whatever it is has to be something that touches you and speaks to you. That way that if you are in that moment where you need that protection spiritually, you are able to go there. You're not able to go there into where I go, you know, you have to go to your spot, you know, mentally. So there's a base, you know, you can say, oh, light these 3 candles and do this and this, but it's a lot of intention and repetition and things like that. And, you know, and imbibing these items, these weapons, these tools, imbibing them with light and protection, and trusting that these things will protect you physically and spiritually if need be. So but like I said, it's a very personal thing to do that, and that's something you would have to develop yourself. And anybody who does ritual magic could tell you that too, that you know, one person does something one way, one person does another way. But this is something I've developed over the years, and you know, knock on wood, it's not failed yet. But yeah, it's just something that I've developed over the years.
Yeah. See, I was hoping I could get a cheat sheet, but it's you said the same thing that was in this book, and well, I knew, but
you know,
it's all about intent, right? You know,
yeah.
It's where you're placing your energy, and if you do it the way, you know, Jake talks about, you know, the old Appalachian quote unquote magic, you know, they still invoke the name of Jesus or the Holy Trinity, you know, because that's who stops baddies, you know. And
you know, and it's not just you know, with Appalachian witchery or conjuring or anything like that. It's not just that. There are a lot of you know, alternative religions or practices or ritual magic or things like that that invoke Christian ideals or anything like that. I mean, there's lots of, like, Santeria uses, you know, elements of you know, West African and Christian and Catholic elements and stuff like that. I have a friend who's a Santerian priest, and there's so many parallels between voodoo and Santeria and the way that we do things in the mountains. There's so many parallels because it's an amalgamation of different beliefs and faiths and rituals and practices and stuff like that. But all of those things have power, and all of those things have meaning and a deep-seated history, and they have, like I said, power behind them. And evoking them brings that power, and maybe it causes a spark in you or a spark in the universe. But I mean, those are long-standing traditions, and it's widespread, you know, it's a common thing.
Yeah. Because, you know, I've experienced a couple little things like that before. Like I burned myself to the point of, you know, I blistered my hand, and I'm sure you know that you can blow it away. You know, like, so I blew it away. You know, I said some certain thing 3 times, and in the name of the Holy Trinity, you know, all 3 times, and it quit. It never burned, like it never hurt. I had the blisters, but I never felt any kind of painful sensation at all. And so I was just hoping I could get something out of you about, you know.
There's no Cliff's Notes.
Well, then I only have one more, because you scared me to death about something a minute ago. You talked about doing something that I absolutely refuse to do.
Okay.
Won't do it. Can't make me do it. It's spirit boards.
Oh, okay.
you get on Ouija boards and
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been doing that. Like I said, since I was about 10 years old, I've been using spirit boards regularly, very regularly.
So it works for you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And you close it. Like
Of
you're not
course,
responsible
yes.
for 2020 or anything like that.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I can ask Zozo. No, but there's a process. You call upon, you open it up, you close it. There is a process. You have to protect yourself. You have to do things responsibly. You have to do these things responsibly because they do hold power. You have to use these things responsibly. These are tools. These are tools in my toolkit of everything I do. And it's not just a Bigfoot thing or anything like that. I mean, it's everything. Everything's connected. And I don't think that these are separate issues. I think everything is connected. Everything in this world is connected. Everything is interacting. Everything is connected. And I think that there's a common thread everywhere. So it's important that you do things the right way. You do things responsibly. Like I said, when you go in the woods, you need to have a personal locator beacon. You need to have a Garmin InReach Mini. That's what I carried. And David Paulides will tell you that all day long. You get one of those. That's what you need before you go in the woods. I mean, you need to be responsible for yourself in everything you do. And whether that be spiritual practices or going hiking in the woods or anything you do, you are responsible for your own safety. And you're responsible for doing things in a safe and responsible manner, and respecting the world around you, and respecting what could happen, and accepting the liability for what could happen, and the risk that you take when you do dangerous things, like opening up spiritual doors or hiking into dangerous areas in the woods.
Yeah, you are so brave. Yeah. I don't even talk a big game when it comes to a Ouija board. I've had a couple of little experiences when I was younger, and I'm like, hell no.
Oh, I've had terrifying experiences. I've had terrifying experiences, but that was when I was very young. I had terrifying things happen, but I learned from it, and I moved on from there. I don't let anything scare me away. I think that's a positive attribute of myself, and a negative attribute of myself, that I tend to be very gung-ho. Like my channel, it's called Hellbent Holler. That's because 10 or 12 years ago, I got hellbent on my knuckles.
Nice.
And it's just, I don't stop. I am a person who I won't stop. I'm relentless, and I'm hard-headed, and there's no other way I can live. It's just who I am. I just can't help it.
Yeah, well, it's working. It's working, and it's a lot of entertainment for me. I love it.
As long as you enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, look, I said I have one more question, and I lied. I have one last one because about 45 minutes ago I said, well, we'll get back to this one. Bigfoot, Sasquatch. I asked you what you think Dogman is. You nailed it, in my opinion, but what? That's not worth anything. But you didn't hold back, and so Bigfoot, you don't believe is an ape.
I don't think it's some undiscovered ape running through the woods. I don't think that at all. If that was the reality, we would have had one years ago in a cage. If it's some undiscovered ape that's 8 or 9 feet tall, just running through the woods, that's a dumb monkey.
Yeah.
My God, no, that we would have had one years ago. These things communicate. These things have a language. You can listen to the Sierra sounds from Ron Moorhead.
Yeah.
They have a language. These are highly advanced beings. I don't know what they are. I don't think that anybody can sit here and tell you definitively it is this, this, or this. I don't think it's an ape. It could be an ape. The evidence is not pointing towards that. The stories are not pointing towards that. But it could be. I don't know. We don't have a specimen. We don't have one to study. But I think it is very short-sighted, and I think it's very closed-minded to just assume that it's one thing, whether it be spiritual or not or whatever, and just that you have all the answers and that you've decided on this, and that's what it is. I think the question is so open-ended right now that you have so many witness accounts, you have so much evidence and contrary to other evidence, you have so many other things that this could be an interdimensional being. This could be a alien human hybridization program. This could be, you know, an offshoot of humans. When they did the DNA studies, they were finding human DNA in a lot of these things. I mean, there's just, the possibilities are absolutely endless. And I think it's important that people just collect the information and then, you know, like I say, observe and report. I mean, and if it doesn't fit your narrative, you're going to have to learn how to open your mind to things, because these things are happening. These anomalous, weird things, and you can call it woo. When you say woo, I think of somebody out in the woods with crystals, you know, trying to call Bigfoot to them. That's a woo thing to me. That's fine. Do your crystal stuff. But like anybody who suggests that, oh, the woo-nacy or whatever it is, because supernatural things are happening. I mean, you're just completely denying reality and you're denying these people's experiences that are experiencing this. This ruins a lot of people's lives. Some people are never the same, and they don't choose that. These things happen to them, and they don't choose that. This happens to them, and it ruins their lives. Yeah. And they will tell you their stories, that they saw these lights, they saw this, they saw that. It spoke to them telepathically, and these people are completely destroyed. You can't just write all of that off. And I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy to just write all this off. If you are willing to entertain the notion that there is an 8 or 9 foot tall monkey running through the woods, you're going to have to entertain the notion that maybe there's something else we don't know about when it comes to this. Yeah,
that's awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
You know, because you get people like Les Stroud, you know, Survivor Man, talking about mind speak.
Yeah.
He has one of the biggest and best reputations out there.
Absolutely.
Know, as a naturalist.
That's a solid dude. And he never has he ever mentioned anything supernatural or, you know, off the wall or anything like, he doesn't mention anything like that in his history, you know? And then he's like, I believe this is what's going on. That's because he's been out, he goes out there, you know, he goes out there and he has investigated this and has been in the areas. He's been close to them, you know, and you can't discount that. You can't sit at home and stay on forums and Facebook and then discount the experiences and the reports and the thoughts of people who are out there in the woods. I'm sorry. You have no place to stand when it comes to that. You know, I just don't, I don't have tolerance for people who want to tell me this is not happening. And it's like, well, you don't go out. You're not in the woods. You're not experiencing these things. You're not talking to these people. Right. You just have this set notion in your head of what this is. And maybe you're incorrect. Maybe I'm incorrect. And that's okay. I mean, we're all just kind of stumbling through this and trying to figure out what this is. Yeah. And I think that, you know, I think that it's way beyond what any of us think it is. I think it's beyond, I think the phenomenon I think it's more out there than anything I've mentioned, anything beyond portals or anything like that. I think the truth is far beyond far beyond the stories or the theories. I think the truth is probably terrifying. I
agree. And, you know, I'll steal something off of Tim Renner when I talk to people like, you know, that are just dead set, this is a biological creature, you know, about where the footprints end, you know, you're in an open field and it just poof, stops walking, you know, just goes away.
Absolutely.
Where'd it go? And there's no answer for that.
No. And you know, the story of the woman who opened her door and there's one standing there. Yeah. And she fires a gun at it and it just disappears. It disappears. Yeah. You know, I mean, what do you do with that? It's something. I mean, and you know, a lot of these class B encounters that, you know, you hear stuff, you don't see something, you hear something like that. Do we know that's Sasquatch? Do we know that's, you know, you're going into the woods looking for Sasquatch? You might be assuming it's Sasquatch. Is it some sort of like Tim Renner, he talks about the wildergeist,
Right.
it's a poltergeist of the woods. I mean, we don't know. And I think that's okay.
It is.
I think it's okay that there's a little mystery in the world. I think it's okay that we don't know everything. I think it's okay that, I think it's okay that we don't know everything, and I think that's the fun of it too.
Yes, it is. It keeps us doing this, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Keeps you in the woods. It keeps me talking to people about
I'm
it.
telling you, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's exciting. There is mystery. There's still mystery out there.
Yeah.
There is still, we have little computers in our pockets and we can look up any piece of information in the world. But I think there is something so special and so necessary about there still being mystery out there.
Thank you. Jessie, it has been so much fun having you on, and I hope you'll come back sometime.
Absolutely. I had a blast.
I feel like I could talk to you forever about this stuff. Just whenever I do this episode, it'll probably be like 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
I'll send you a link to it. I don't know if you listen to the show yet or not. Hopefully you will. But
yeah, I've listened to a couple episodes.
Okay. My favorite podcast, by the way, I should already have this paused by now, but